Tonight, Pierre Poilievre vows to keep multiple murderers in prison forever by overriding the charter.
They should only come out in a box.
He'd be the first prime minister to invoke the notwithstanding clause.
I think this is a very dangerous step.
The reaction on the campaign trail. More tariff confusion as Trump appears to change gears on cars.
I'm looking at something to help some of the car companies.
The scramble to sort out what exactly the president meant. And we're here in Yellowknife, where a big campaign issue is Arctic security. We go as far north as you can by road to understand Canada's vulnerability and the threats.
We need that flag flying high and proud.
You need more than a flag, though.
Yes.
What people here want to see from the next government.
From CBC News, this is The National with Chief Correspondent Adrian Arsenault in Yellowknife.
Thanks for joining us. As The National crosses the country this campaign, tonight we're in Yellowknife, a gateway to Canada's north. All the main party leaders have pledged to secure and defend the Arctic. But it's a promise today about crime and punishment that's drawing reaction. If he becomes prime minister, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre vowed to take the unprecedented step of keeping multiple murderers in prison without parole by overriding their charter rights with the notwithstanding clause. Poilievre argues his plan defends the charter, but critics call it dangerous. Ashley Burke now with details of the promise that could take Canada into uncharted territory.
Behind in the polls, the Conservatives leader promising to do what no prime minister has done before.
I will use Section 33 of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
Pierre Poilievre vowing to invoke the notwithstanding clause. It allows Parliament to override the charter and temporarily impose laws that would normally be unconstitutional. Poilievre wants to use it to give judges the power to sentence people who commit multiple murders to consecutive life sentences, so they're behind bars until the day they die.
The worst mass murderers should never be allowed back on our streets. For them, a life sentence should mean what it says, a life sentence. They should only come out in a box.
Poilievre's aiming to override a ruling by the Supreme Court in the case of Alexandre Bissonnette. He killed 6 people in 2017 at a Quebec City mosque and was sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole for 40 years. But the court later ruled consecutive life sentences is cruel and unusual punishment and reduced his to 25 years.
I don't think we have to worry about Mr. Bissonnette seeing the outside of a prison cell.
This criminal defense lawyer says it's unlikely murderers like this would ever get out on bail, even as the law stands now. And while Poilievre's pitch to get tough on crime may be popular, it won't make streets safer.
I think it's a desperate attempt to grab votes. I think it's a failed policy stolen out of the Trump playbook.
Poilievre's main rival says politicizing fundamental rights is a slippery slope.
This is a very dangerous step.
Other parties oppose Poilievre using this clause too.
I think that's wrong. And so we were looking at ways to close down its use or to restrict its use because it's deeply problematic.
You should rely more on improving justice system and laws than removing yourself from their application.
Poilievre says this plan would also prevent victims' families from having to testify and be re-traumatized at parole hearings. The Canadian Police Association says it supports his move in this one circumstance.
And Ashley, what is the likely strategy here?
Well, Adrian, his party right now is trailing behind the Liberals, which have a sizable lead in the polls. And this allows Poilievre to take aim at Mark Carney and try and argue the Liberals have what he called catch and release hug-a-thug laws. That's the same kind of language Trump has used and also heavily campaigned on his tough on crime message, which can be popular. But all of this could be a political risk for Poilievre if he's tied too closely to Trump during a trade war.
All right, Ashley Burke in Ottawa. Ontario Premier Doug Ford is defending his former campaign manager, who's been a vocal critic of Pierre Poilievre's campaign.
He's tough as nails, but he's the best campaign manager in the country. And to be very frank, if Corey was running that campaign, I don't think Mr. Poilievre would be in the position he's in right now.
Veteran Conservative campaign operative Corey Teneycke has slammed Poilievre's campaign strategy now for weeks, saying it's headed for disaster. An opinion Ford seemed to echo, saying the truth hurts. Well, the major party leaders were all headed to Montreal today ahead of the debates this week.
I'm Kate McKenna covering the Liberals in Montreal. Mark Carney is apologizing unreservedly after we first reported that Liberal operatives planted buttons at a Conservative event in an apparent false flag operation. Last week, 2 Liberals went to the Canada Strong and Free Network, an annual Conservative networking event. The Liberals distributed buttons that said, "Stop this deal." It was an apparent effort to tie Canada's Conservative movement to the MAGA movement in the United States. But the Liberals got caught. I overheard one of them talking about it. We reported this story yesterday, and Mark Carney says this behavior is unacceptable and the people responsible have been reassigned to other tasks.
I'm Olivia Stefanovic covering the NDP. Jagmeet Singh, the last leader to arrive in Montreal to campaign ahead of the debates, which won't feature a discussion on health care. Singh says that's a mistake as he pitches his plan to hire 35,000 new nurses across the country. Singh says he'll reach that goal by tying future federal health transfer payments to nurse retention strategies. Singh also wants provinces to hire more nurses from outside of Canada, including those from the U.S. And although he's trying to stick to his healthcare message, Singh continues to face questions about slumping support. Polls show the NDP could lose official party status. Should that happen, Singh isn't saying whether he'll stay on as party leader.
I'm Evan Dyer with the Bloc Québécois campaign. Today, Yves-François Blanchet promised to introduce a bill to end the use of the Jordan rule in the prosecution of violent crimes. That's a rule introduced by the Supreme Court in 2016 that puts time limits on criminal trials and says that if a case takes more than 2.5 years, it can often be dismissed. Blanchet says there shouldn't be any time limit on the prosecution of the most violent crimes. The Bloc tabled a similar bill last year and vowed to use the notwithstanding clause to push it through. This is a crucial week for the Bloc Québécois, with the French language debate on Wednesday, perhaps Blanchet's last and best chance to stop the movement of Quebec voters to Mark Carney's Liberals.
And as you heard there, the leaders are set to square off in Montreal over 2 nights. Wednesday is the French language debate starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can watch that on CBC News Network or wherever you stream CBC News. Thursday is the English debate. That one starts at 7 Eastern. You can also watch that on CBC television. And on both nights, I'll be hosting the National Live from Montreal with all your post-debate coverage. Now, Donald Trump's trade policy is again evolving in real time. The president saying in the Oval Office, "I don't change my mind, but I'm flexible." And as Katie Simpson explains, this time he teased an unspecified tariff break might be coming for the North American auto industry.
The jitters on Wall Street appear to be easing. North American markets closed slightly higher with the help of U.S. automotive stocks. Amid new suggestions, some auto sector tariffs may change.
I'm looking at something to help some of the car companies where they're switching to parts that were made in Canada, Mexico, and other places, and they need a little bit of time because they're going to make them here, but they need a little bit of time. So I'm talking about things like that.
The U.S. has already imposed 25% tariffs on foreign-made autos with carve-outs for CUSMA-compliant components. Additional tariffs on foreign auto parts are supposed to start next month.
There'll be a little bit of a relief because there might be a lowering of tariffs on a massive sector. But on the other hand, when he says this is temporary, people start to wonder just how temporary.
U.S. trade policy has been erratic, with tariffs announced, imposed, paused, and changed with little notice. The whiplash hitting electronics. Broad tariff exemptions were announced Friday, only to be walked back Sunday. The White House saying those items will be hit by different tariffs soon.
The president has a comprehensive, detailed, very sensible plan to manage rebooting our trade relationships.
A rebooting of trade relationships also underway overseas. Chinese President Xi Jinping launching a diplomacy tour in Vietnam. The first stop on a 3-country excursion. He's trying to secure additional markets for Chinese goods as the tit-for-tat trade war with the U.S. ramps up. An effort that seemed to irk the U.S. president back in Washington.
I see they're meeting today. Is that wonderful? That's a lovely meeting. They're meeting, like trying to figure out, how do we screw the United States of America?
That attitude and Trump's belief that the U.S. is being cheated, it's part of what drives the overall tariff agenda. Trump's goal in all of this is to grow jobs in the U.S., even if it is at the expense of other countries, and that includes Canada.
And Katie, let's go back to those auto tariffs and I suppose this possible break that was pretty unexpected.
Yeah, Trump was asked several questions about the flip-flop on tariff exemptions for electronics when he seemingly out of nowhere offered up this new development for the auto sector. The White House is not offering any further detail about how or when changes could happen.
All right, Katie Simpson in Washington. Harvard University is risking almost $9 billion in federal funding by defying new rules from the White House. The Trump administration is pressuring schools to end diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and screen international students for support of terrorism, for example. The president of Harvard wrote to the university community, no government, regardless of which party is in power, should dictate what private universities can teach, whom they can admit and hire, and which areas of study and inquiry they can pursue. Now, Donald Trump hosted El Salvador's president in the Oval Office, and his team defended the illegal deportation of an immigrant to a notorious El Salvador prison, making it clear they won't get him out, despite an order from the Supreme Court. And as Paul Hunter shows us, U.S. citizens could be next.
Somewhere inside this giant, horrific prison in El Salvador, where thousands of accused gang members mix with freshly deported migrants from the U.S., is this man, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who'd been allowed to legally stay in the U.S. but was then deported from Maryland in March. Accused of being a member of the notorious MS-13 gang, though his family lawyer says there's no evidence of that and Garcia has no criminal record. The U.S. Justice Department then admitted his deportation was a mistake. His case putting a spotlight on U.S. President Donald Trump's efforts to deport as many such migrants as he can. Into all of that, El Salvador's president, Nayib Bukele, and a meeting with Trump.
And we're very eager to help.
But in the Oval Office, a confusing back and forth with reporters on Garcia's fate after a U.S. Supreme Court ruling last week suggesting the U.S. should facilitate Garcia's return. On that, Trump's Attorney General.
That's up to El Salvador if they want to return him. That's not up to us. If they wanted to return him, we would facilitate it, meaning provide a plane.
Then Bukele weighed in.
How can I return him to the United States? Like I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
The ultimate call, said Trump's Secretary of State, is Trump himself.
The foreign policy of the United States is conducted by the President of the United States, not by a court.
And not once did Trump say Garcia should be returned. In fact, he said he'd like to go a step further.
We always have to obey the laws, but we also have homegrown criminals. I'd like to include them in the group of people to get them out of the country.
The homegrowns, as he put it, in suggesting he'd send American citizens to foreign prisons. They're next, he said. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
Hungary's parliament has passed a constitutional amendment that bans participation in public 2S LGBTQ+ events.
Hogy ennek elfogadásához az országgyűlési képviselő.
Despite interruptions and protests inside and outside the parliament chambers, the vote easily passed the two-thirds threshold needed to alter Hungary's constitution, allowing authorities to use facial recognition to track and punish offenders for participating in events like Budapest's popular Pride March. Well, a community in Surrey, British Columbia, is mourning the death of a 6-year-old girl. She was one of 3 children struck in a hit and run on a residential street.
I was here when she was on the ground. She was here laying down on the ground, but the guy was not here, the guy who had hit her.
The driver fled the scene but was arrested less than an hour later after reportedly hitting a parked car. Police believe alcohol may be a factor. Charges have not yet been laid. The 2 other children are recovering from what authorities say are non-life-threatening injuries. Well, there are new clinical guidelines tonight to treat Canadian kids and teens with obesity. The guidelines include psychological supports and, in some cases, popular weight loss drugs like Ozempic, even surgery. Jennifer Yoon on the new approach.
I had a full head of hair back then.
Brendan Goodman was 9 years old when he says a doctor told him he'd be dead by 30 if he couldn't get his weight under control.
You're going through, of course, all the issues a normal 9-year-old goes through. On top of that, also being told you're overweight, you're an aberration. For me, I felt like I was a failure.
For years, he followed weight loss programs that never worked. What finally made a difference, learning about and working on the psychological aspects of obesity, as well as nutrition and physical exercise. That kind of mixed approach should be the standard in treating children with obesity, according to new clinical guidelines published Monday. It also moves away from using BMI as the sole marker for obesity, looking at other health outcomes like sleep apnea, blood pressure, or mental health struggles. In some cases, authors say families should consider GLP-1 medication sold under brand names like Ozempic or Wegovy.
A lot has changed in how we manage children, and there's a lot of new literature as well.
Families should be included in the decision-making, says this co-author, but they should be told about the unknowns, including possible long-term side effects.
Further research is needed because these are relatively new medications.
Authors say families and children shouldn't be shamed by their doctors.
There's a lot of stigma related to it, that if you can't lose weight, you're a weak person, not strong enough, don't have the willpower. And all that stigma just perpetuates all the negative experiences.
Also to be considered in some severe cases where the benefits outweigh the risks, weight loss surgery.
It was a choice I would make again 100 times, me as an infant.
Because for some like Goodman, who got the procedure at the age of 17 and was well supported by a medical team before and after the surgery, it can be life-changing. Jennifer Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
With 2 weeks left in the election campaign, climate change appears to have taken a backseat.
I have not heard a lot of parties talk about carbon emissions, talk about climate change.
Why climate change has fallen behind as a campaign issue. Next. An all-female crew blasts off for a star-studded trip to space.
Oh my God, that was amazing.
A high-profile spectacle promoting tourism's final frontier. And later, we unseal voter sentiment as our national conversation continues, one envelope at a time.
I'd probably dismantle the entire political system.
We're back into it. This is beautiful Yellowknife, the Northwest Territories' capital city, perched on Great Slave Lake. This northern community has felt the effects of climate change firsthand. It was less than 2 years ago that the city was evacuated from encroaching wildfires, something the Green Party co-leader referenced on the campaign trail today.
An entire capital in the Northwest Territories that was evacuated because of the horrendous fire. So this is not just a humanitarian crisis, it's also becoming a public health emergency.
Jonathan Pedno calls the climate emergency the greatest threat to Canadians' health and sovereignty and accused the Liberals of abandoning the climate agenda. That issue is taking a bit of a back seat for many Canadians this election, though, a far cry from elections past. Susan Ormiston looks at why.
Big pressure back in 2019 when over 40% of Canadians polled said a top issue was environment and climate change. But in the years since, that metric by Angus Reid Polling has sunk, diving further in the last 6 months.
We have witnessed a significant decline. It's being overshadowed by more pressing and more immediate issues, that being affordability, housing, the cost of living, and obviously tariffs and Donald Trump.
Even after last year's wildfires, extreme floods, and huge hail, a majority of Canadians likely won't vote on climate policy.
Carney and Poilievre are trying to stay away from the climate conversation to avoid that risk of alienating those who may be considered swing voters.
Instead, there is lots of talk about building more oil and gas pipelines.
We can build Canadian pipelines with Canadian steel. How many projects have the Liberals killed already?
To be an energy superpower, we also need to get more conventional energy built, with a focus on making it as clean as possible.
But how? Mark Carney's first move as Prime Minister was to cut the consumer carbon tax, thereby neutralizing Poilievre's main attack, Axe the Tax.
I was a little bit nervous to see Carney cut the carbon tax because I don't know what policies on the environment he has in store.
It's not that Canadians don't want action on climate. Polling in March showed 3/4 of voters want the leaders to take climate change seriously. But what does that mean?
I have not heard a lot of parties talk about carbon emissions, talk about climate change.
There is space in the looming economic crisis, Bruyette says, to recognize that cleaner energy is a sovereignty issue.
Despots can't control the sun and the wind. The missed opportunity right now is one of political leadership and imagination of how we could transform our economy.
Because, tariffs or not, the climate risk will only grow. Whomever wins can't escape that. Susan Ormiston, CBC News, Toronto.
A historic blast-off in Texas today as an all-female crew gets an out-of-this-world encounter.
This experience is second to being a mom.
Why the stars went to space next. And facing the threats in Canada's north.
Most people don't realize just how dangerous everything has become.
Why Arctic security is getting so much attention this election campaign. Plus, northern residents hope political promises translate to critical infrastructure investment.
Prove it. I want to see it done in front of me. Show me now.
The National breaks down the stories shaping your world. Next.
Honorable members, you have elected Donna Skelly, member for Plainville.
For the first time in history, a woman has been chosen as Speaker of the Ontario Legislature. Donna Skelly from the governing Progressive Conservative Party was elected over another woman from the NDP. Skelly, a former broadcaster, said she wants to bring a more professional tone to question period. Another first for women, this time on the edge of space. A Blue Origin rocket was crewed only by women, including a couple of celebrities. The launch breaks barriers, but as Nicole Williams shows us, it marks another chapter in space tourism promotion.
Pop singer Katy Perry is officially an astronaut. Katy! And very happy to be back on Earth.
This experience is second to being a mom.
Perry, part of an all-female crew aboard billionaire Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin spacecraft, which blasted off Monday morning from the fields of West Texas. A star-studded trip to the edge of space, about 105 kilometers up, lasting all of 10 minutes, but enough time to enter zero gravity.
Oh my God, that was amazing.
On board, CBS morning show host Gayle King and Bezos' fiancée, Lauren Sanchez. Onlookers the likes of Oprah and the Kardashian family. And if all this spectacle has gotten your attention, well, that's the point.
Have you ever dreamed of going to space? A once-in-a-lifetime journey is closer than you think.
That phrase heard multiple times during the live stream of the launch, suggesting anyone can now travel to space. Not mentioned, though, the total cost. But you will need a deposit of $150,000 USD just to reserve a seat.
What we are not seeing is the cost of space travel go down enough to make it available even to the very wealthy. You know, if you have $10 million, it might be very hard still to go to space.
And even if you are rich and well-connected, space still remains largely inaccessible. After this launch, women still represent barely 15% of the more than 700 people who have traveled into space. But one source of inspiration, a part of the crew, Amanda Wynn, a scientist and an advocate for survivors of sexual assault, sharing powerful words back on Earth.
In this moment, I just want all survivors to know that you can heal. No dream is too wild.
as the first Vietnamese woman to travel to space, Nguyen making history all on her own. Nicole Williams, CBC News, Ottawa.
Now it's time to dig deeper into the issues on voters' minds in this election. They're campaigning for your vote, so we are traveling across Canada to find out what you need.
Access to suitable housing in the north.
What's the return for young Canadians who are struggling?
Tonight, welcome to Yellowknife on the northern shore of Great Slave Lake, where Arctic sovereignty and security are top of mind. All of the main parties are promising to strengthen that security. So to get a sense of what that could mean, we traveled north of here and north of the Arctic Circle to the town of Inuvik, where beyond those election promises, the real conversation about securing the north picks up.
Welcome on now to the 67th annual Muskrat Derby here at the river.
These are the true and forever keepers of Arctic security and sovereignty. And for the anxious talk in Canada of what geopolitical dangers lurk over the horizon, this moment is sheer joy.
Go, 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 go.
The Spring Jamboree in Inuvik, Northwest Territories, a few hundred kilometers north of the Arctic Circle. Days of races and games on the frozen Mackenzie River. And more fun than most people have ever had playing musical chairs in the arena. Go grab a man! It's a strong community with rightfully strong opinions about how to secure the North.
Every decision that's made in the Arctic should happen in the Arctic by Arctic people. Thank you. I grew up in an era where my grandmothers were like, are the Russians seriously coming? That's what the old ladies would talk about. And I think having the military presence will give a sense of security for those in the Arctic.
What is it like during an election campaign to see would-be prime ministers standing at a podium talking about the Arctic?
Useless. Sorry, but useless. I just find they think we're just a little dot. They try to say they're going to help us, and things are getting worse.
I mean, they're trying to get votes, and I might be dead wrong, but we've had lots of promises up here. We're going to do this and we're going to do that.
Well, you've got evidence of promises unfulfilled.
I'm not trying to sound like a backwood redneck hick, but that's what they do. They promise you the moon and give you dirt.
People here understand that all across the north there are signs of unfulfilled promises.
The development of Port Nunavummiut.
A deepwater port in Nunavummiut, for example, pledged by the Harper government in 2007, lies unfinished and so far unusable. Keep an eye on Inuvik, this community of just over 3,000. It's one of 3 places identified by the previous government for operational support hubs. And head down the highway to the furthest north you can drive in Canada, the even smaller community of Tuktoyaktuk, right on the Arctic Ocean. Conversations about threats here look like a lot of things. Not many of them are about enemy nations. To you, what's a threat to life here?
It's probably something happening to the land or to the water. It means everything to us. And if you want to know what Arctic sovereignty means to me, it's the people who live in the north. We've always been here. We've been a part of Canada, and we always will be.
And without addressing climate change, living here will get tougher. Those are the threats most of the Nunavummiut need addressing. But for the Canadian government and military, more immediate is that heightened security threat. Tuktoyaktuk was one of the places to host this year's Operation Nanook a few weeks ago. The largest Arctic exercise Canada and its allies have held here in nearly 2 decades. But hardly the first time Tuktoyaktuk has been at the sharp end of worries. Look at these old radar installations. These are part of the DEW line, the distant early warning line that was built after the Second World War. The purpose of that was to detect enemy bombers coming up over the pole. It's old technology. It was retired in the 1980s and replaced with something new. But even that is out of date because the threats keep evolving. Canada's modernization of surveillance, though, hasn't been fast, and its military spending not sufficient for the likes of Rob Hubert.
We see D&D desperately trying to push the government to do more stuff, including the purchase of the F-35s, but nothing is done.
Hubert is one of Canada's leading experts on Arctic threats, and he doesn't mince words.
If nuclear war is to occur between the major powers, and particularly the Americans and the Soviets/Russians, it is because something has gone wrong in the Arctic.
When you say that to people, what is the response you get from them?
Most people don't realize just how dangerous everything has become.
To get a sense of the risk, visually shift the way you look at Canada. From the globe with the Arctic at the top, spin it. Now with the Arctic at the center, what do you see? Finland, Sweden, Norway, Greenland, Canada, and the US, all effectively facing Russia and its growing threat. From 2007 on, Russia reopened 50 closed Soviet-era military sites and built a series of new airfields and bases. This is the Rogachevo Air Base, for example. What it looked like in 2006, not much there. Same place, 2022. CBC News' visual investigation team determined these are parking and storage areas for missile transporters and reload packs. Right here, you can see from the shadows, the missile launchers are raised. So Russia's investments are huge, its actions provocative. Buzzing American fighters near Alaska back in September. But it's not just Russia. Consider China. It's not an Arctic nation, but interested in the shipping routes of a warming Arctic Ocean, a polar Silk Road. What else does it want?
Are they going to develop submarines that have under ice capability? They're introducing 3 new classes of subs, and so the question is, are any of these being given a capability that all of a sudden they could show up in Arctic waters?
Understanding the Chinese threat is harder because there's often secrecy around China's ambitions. But people talk, and in the north, they keep their eyes open.
I'm aware the Canadian government had to remove some Chinese acoustic mirrors that are in my backyard, as I always refer to it as.
Where were those removed from, and when was that?
I can't say exactly where they were.
Okay.
They were removed last year.
Dwayne Smith is the chair of the Nunavummiut Regional Corporation, which manages the land claim agreement for this area. This, for him, is the moment for Canada's government to step up even more.
We need that flag flying high and proud.
You need more than a flag, though.
Yes, now is the time to invest in this part of Canada so that it's visible. We're not sitting back as a country. I don't think people actually realize how large this country is. To have a community of 80 people on an island the size of France, those people are on the front of what it means to be Canadian, but to represent Canada's sovereignty.
Smith and this Nunavut community know the conversation happening now is especially frenzied because of the election and because of Donald Trump. That's both frustrating and yet important, especially if it means the people who've long stood on guard for Canada find themselves getting the support they've long needed. So a huge thank you to the people in Nunavut and Teneycke. We mentioned all of the major parties are making promises about Arctic security. You can find the details and compare those promises using our party platform tracker at cbc.ca/party platforms. Now, while politicians look to bolster defenses in the north, many who live here say there is another pressing issue.
We're in a third world state with the infrastructure that we have.
Why some say you can't claim sovereignty without some serious investments in the north. That's next. With campaign promises to secure and defend the Arctic, the message from many here in the north, you cannot secure the border without investing in northern communities.
I think Canadians are waking up to the reality that the north is a vital part of the country.
Juanita Taylor takes us to Nunavut for a look at what that investment could look like and why people there say it is long overdue.
The gateway to the north. That's what Rankin Inlet Nunavut is known for, where everyone knows everyone. Spring is starting to return in this hamlet of about 3,000 people. But there's a hidden yet well-known crisis here. There's not enough houses for everyone. Hi! Forcing families like the Inukshuks to live in overcrowded homes. We stop in just as Violet Inukshuk is making lunch for 19 people who all live here in this 4-bedroom house. What are you making for lunch today, Violet?
We're going to have boiled shrimps, boiled mussel, and ramatak.
Yum. Maktak, or skin from beluga whale in Inuktitut, is a favorite. Her growing family is fed a combination of traditional and store-bought food. How does it feel for you? Like you mentioned, one of your sons moved away because of the overcrowding. He moved to Nunavummiut.
It was, in a way, it was a relief, but then I miss him.
I'm sorry. Violet and her husband Wesley gave up their bedroom.
I have 7 people in here.
So that their grown children and their families will have a place to sleep.
This is where we keep our beds.
Their mattress tucked away in the porch until bedtime.
We try our best to work it out. It gets hard.
The territorial government says a severe housing crisis is plaguing all 25 communities. While the Inukshuks wait for more housing, they all try and make it work. Do you guys know how long it's going to take until they get a housing unit?
No.
It's a long wait. 9 years, maybe 8 years.
Maybe 8. And now our second oldest daughter applied for a housing unit last year. She's still waiting.
A report released by the Nunavut Housing Corporation shows Rankin Inlet listed as critical. The territory is attempting to build 3,000 units across Nunavut by 2030. People here hope this election will see significant investment in infrastructure projects like housing, thanks to a renewed focus on the north. Party leaders flew to Iqaluit even before the election was called, all promising to invest more in the Arctic.
We must invest in Canada's north to defend our sovereignty.
Canada's Arctic is under threat.
So when we talk about investing in Arctic defense, that means investing in Arctic communities.
In Nunavut, all 25 communities rely on diesel that gets shipped in every summer, fuel to power the town and heat homes.
To your right, there's 2 large fuel tanks.
At Sakku Investments in Rankin Inlet, its president and CEO, David Kakuktingnek, is working to change that. The Inuit-led corporation wants to build the first hydrofiber link connecting the north to the south.
You see all the power lines here. Every building will have a power drop to it, and that provides for the lighting. I think everywhere else in modern Canada and other areas, it's integrated.
I like how you say modern Canada. It almost makes me feel like we're not in modern Canada right now.
We're not. We're in a third world state with the infrastructure that we have.
The Kivalliq Hydro Fiber Link project is a 1,200-kilometer link from Manitoba's electricity grid and communications network to 5 Nunavut communities and 2 mines.
I'm hoping everybody's going to wake up and realize just the significance of providing this type of critical infrastructure.
Good for Inuit and all of Canada.
From within Churchill into this grid, we would radio out.
The project still needs environmental assessment and $1 billion from Ottawa.
Information sharing.
The buzz at this year's Nunavut Mining Symposium in Iqaluit was Arctic sovereignty, says Vice President of the Northwest Territories and Nunavut Chamber of Mines, Alex Buchan.
What we're seeing now is more of a broader interest in our sector, the mining sector, how mining can contribute to Canadian use of Arctic and Canadian sovereignty.
Like the Grays Bay Road and Port Project, the road would link up to the Northwest Territories Winter Road through Nunavut's mineral-rich terrain, all the way to the Arctic Ocean, reinforcing Arctic sovereignty and defense. Nunavut Premier PJ Akarok has been telling leaders across North America that they can't have Arctic sovereignty without investing in the Arctic.
Now, I think Canadians are waking up to the reality that the North is a vital part of the country, and that we are Canadians, just as any Canadian is in southern Canada.
You know, the North has a chance to describe its own future.
Ken Coates is an Arctic security expert. He says Canada needs nation-building projects now.
So we need to have nation-building projects that basically get all Canadians to realize that developing the North carefully and cautiously in league and in partnership with Indigenous people will actually be good for Canada as a whole. It'll spark economic development. It will make us more prosperous. It'll make us way more secure.
This is a go-to house, please. Go, go, go.
Back in Rankin Inlet at the Inukshuk household, the family is making the best of the space they have while they wait for housing.
What would you say to any of the politicians that are running in this election? They all say that they're going to do something about the housing situation in the North.
I think I would just say right up front, prove it. I want to see it done in front of me. Show me now.
And Violet shares that thought with many people across Nunavut, especially those who are living in overcrowded homes.
And Juanita, watching your story, it occurred to me, as I'm sure it did to many other people, how does a family feed 20 people, especially with the prices in the North?
Yeah, that's right. Well, as you saw in the piece, the Inukshuks, they feed their family a combination of country food and store-bought food. And both Wesley and Violet Inukshuk, they work jobs to contribute to buying food for the family. But they also say that they believe in the phrase, ask and you shall receive. And so they say that they share their food with the community whenever they need it. And in return, they always seem to be able to put food on the table for their family.
People looking after each other.
That's right.
Thank you, Juanita. So great to see you.
You too, Adrienne. Thank you.
As we head to break, take a look at this gorgeous view. We were lucky enough to capture the northern lights lighting up the skies over the city here. That was shot by our colleague Lee. What a show. We'll be back with the National Envelope here in Yellowknife right after this. Welcome back to beautiful Yellowknife as we travel the country to hear from voters. We're also asking them to answer some questions. Well, one question in particular, and it's tucked inside the National Envelope.
First thing I would change if I became the Prime Minister of Canada, I'd probably dismantle the entire political system.
Wow.
And start fresh from an Indigenous nation perspective.
Hi there.
What brings you to Yellowknife?
Well, we're from the National, and we have a question for you in this envelope.
Okay. What's the question?
Okay, so it's in the National envelope. You gotta open it.
What a dirty trick.
If you became the Prime Minister of Canada, what's the first thing you would change? Probably Canadian pride. Make sure everyone knows that we're all in this together.
The housing crisis, especially for youth who are just getting out of high school and stuff. It's hard for them to get a home and have a full-time job with just the wages.
At the ripe age of 30, I've always dreamed of owning my own home, and I've worked hard all my life since I was 15 years old and been saving, and it's a scary reality to not know how and when I'm going to be able to ever do that and make that dream come true.
Hi, we're from CBC The National. Can we ask you a question?
For the National, eh?
A lovely question. I intend to be Prime Minister in 15 years.
I think I would probably do proportional representation, I think it's called, instead of the way it is now. You know, if we want to vote for a party that's not one of the two main parties, then it's really not making a difference right now, right?
You know, a lot of drug here, like a lot of people, they are not working, they are just drugging addictions, and I'm scared.
I think the first thing I would change is I would take a 10-year pause on foreign aid. In a decade, we could solve all the problems that plague us domestically.
And we will have more from Yellowknife tomorrow. You'll see a conversation I had with a group of voters about what matters to them in this election. Now, until then, for all of us here at the National, thanks for being with us. And thank you to everyone here in Tuck and in Inuvik, all the people who've welcomed us. I'm Adrienne Arsenault in Yellowknife. Take care.